So very much for being alongside. The head coach of the Citadel Bulldogs is with us as well, and that is Brent Thompson. And coming up in just a little bit here on the show, we are going to visit with the owner of Home Team BBQ, and that is Aaron Siegel. So he'll be with us in our next segment. So here we are and ready to go, and the head coach is with us now. And so, Coach, great to have you in this particular seat. Glad to be here at our home, and good start for you for the 2016 season. Congratulations on your first win as a head coach.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. It was a tremendous win for our players, for our program, for our alumni, for sure. We had a lot of fan support out there in Macon. It was, and it certainly made the trip coming back a lot easier for us, being that it was a late night. We didn't get out of there until about 11 o'clock. We got home somewhere around 4 o'clock. So, being that we played on a Thursday, I thought it was probably the best possible scenario for us.
And now you have a little bit of extra time to get ready for week number 2, and but we'll get into all that coming up in just a little bit from right now here. So we want to talk about the Mercer game. Want to kind of recap that coming up in a little bit, and get into a lot of things too. Obviously, Furman's on the horizon, and so go back a little bit, if you would, Coach, and talk about how that game against Mercer landed on a Thursday, because now you've had an opportunity to get a little flexible in the schedule. They don't have as much flexibility coming from a Michigan State game and having a regular week to prepare while you've had a little bit more.
Yeah, well, it was really came about when Coach Houston was still here. He asked me way back in probably mid-November, somewhere in December, and he said, do you mind playing this on a Thursday night? And, not even thinking twice about it. I go, yeah, sure. I think coming out of camp, they're going to have plenty of time to prepare for us. We'll have plenty of time to prepare for them. You're always thinking about that. But on the back end of it, you're thinking, well, it may buy us an extra day or two on the Furman. So I thought it was a win-win for both of us, and I thought it was a good decision at the time. And then I told the staff as it came down to game week, it was just an odd week for us. We never played on a Thursday. You're trying to treat Sundays and Tuesdays, and everything's a different day for you. So when it came down to it, we said, we will probably decide whether this was a good idea the day after the game or not. And so we're sitting in the staff room on a Friday, and after the game, and Coach Harrell turns to me and he goes, well, I guess we thought it was a pretty good idea to go ahead and play on a Thursday. So it ended up being pretty good for us. We actually got a chance to spend some time with our families on Saturday and be a little bit of a fan on Saturday, give our players Saturday off as well, and then we got back to a normal week on Sunday. We kind of treated Sunday more like a Tuesday for us, so we had a full padded practice on Sunday.
So all the way back in whenever that was, Coach Houston was giving you the opportunity to make some decisions already. How prophetic of him to let you go ahead and make some of those calls.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it made for an awkward time frame for us. When you're not used to doing things like that, playing on a Thursday night, and you're trying to treat Wednesdays as Fridays, and you're trying to back your week all the way up. It's just not something that comes naturally for a football coach who's very, or even a staff or players that are regimented in the way that we are. We're used to playing on Saturdays and preparing on Fridays and Thursdays. So, but we got through it. We managed it, and I thought it worked out well for us.
You mentioned having been a fan over the weekend. They were saying that may have been the biggest and best opening weekend of a college football season. That was a good week to be a fan, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of great games to watch. I was able to sit down and watch 3 different option teams, which is tough for me to do until the off season. I watched a good Army football team go out there and beat Temple. That was good. And then I was able to wake up like I was on the West Coast and watch Georgia Tech on Saturday morning, and that was a lot of fun for us. And then, of course, you see the good games going on in the afternoon. The UCLA game, the Texas A&M game was going on. And then you get to see some of those top 25 teams, which you normally don't see this early in the year, which made for a nice treat for all of us. Georgia was playing out there. And so there's some really good games that we enjoyed being fans for. And there's nothing like just sitting down on the couch and watching a game like it was New Year's Day.
It was fun. There's no question about it. And a super week for college football. And week 2 is almost upon us here as the Citadel Bulldogs are going to host the Furman Paladins. Nothing like getting a rival out of the way pretty fast on the schedule, right?
Yeah, a little bit different for us. It's we've got 2 very important league games right off the bat for us, and one of them happens to be one of your rivals, which is good. We're trying to view it as a positive, the fact that we're coming out of camp and we know we've got to win 2 very, very tough football games to come out of camp with. So it made camp a little bit challenging, being that we had to be at full strength. We couldn't, bang our players too hard. So we had to make sure that, they were tested, but, we couldn't go out there and test them too hard. We had to make sure that we had fresh legs. So, it's been a little bit of a challenge as far as the practice is concerned. So we felt like we made it over the first hurdle. This will be the second test, and especially how well that they played against Michigan State last week. Again,
we want to talk about the Mercer victory and coaches first as a head coach, and then later in the show we're going to talk about Furman more specifically and what they will pose in terms of a challenge for the Citadel Bulldogs. So we'll get things kind of underway here. I'm going to give you a little bit of a chance to dig into your wings because a huge, big platter of wings has arrived for you.
Yeah, Mike, it's been a challenge just sitting here and watching these things right now.
So we want to get you into those. In the next segment, we're going to bring in the owner of Home Team BBQ, Aaron Siegel, to talk with him for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll jump right back in it with you, Coach. So enjoy those wings. And I know you well enough already to know that if you win this weekend, that's exactly what you're going to have next week too, right?
Well, I called Coach Houston, and he said, make sure you get the wings, and if you get them every week.
As long as the wins came, he had the very same thing. It was the order was always the same.
You've seen us compete on Barbecue Pit Wars. You've heard about our award-winning barbecue and wings, but you tried Qology yet? Barbecue nachos, award-winning ribs, barbecue tacos, and of course our pulled pork sandwiches just for a start. Live entertainment and happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. Visit Qology Barbecue today, located at 32C.
It's a great place for us to be, to do the show, and so we're going to continue after the break in a moment. This is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show on Sports Radio 1450. All right, my man.
Titles are forever.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. I went to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan once. She's the culprit that ripped our door off. 2,000-pound animal bumping into a steel door creates quite a bit of damage. I actually use the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. USAA is great about working with both active and separated military. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Welcome back to Fiery Ron's Home Team BBQ in West Ashley, and this is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show, and this is the season premiere of our show, and we'll be here for 11 consecutive weeks, leading all the way up until, I think, the 16th of November. So 11 straight shows starting tonight. Glad to be here, and we're glad to be back this season at Fiery Ron's Home Team BBQ West Ashley location, and it's a bit more expansive here. And so we would be remiss if owner Aaron Siegel were in the building and we didn't get a chance to talk to him. So, Aaron, it's great to have you on the show for one, but also as our host again for the show for the second straight year. Thank you very much for having us. And the place is great. You never go wrong with the food. And now you've added on here, giving us kind of a room of our own. So can't say thanks enough for your participation in our efforts here. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. We're glad to have you here. We built this room for you.
Just for me?
Yeah, you and Coach.
Wow. You know? This is neat. I guess I got to clean up, pick up my toys, stuff like that.
That's
after it's over with. So, no, this is really nice. When did this brainchild happen? When did you kind of decide to design something new out here in what was a beauty parlor, right?
Yeah, well, it was this will be our 10th year in West Ashley. So originally, there's 1,000 square feet sitting over here. They had a mattress store here for a while, and then it turned over into a hair salon. And we've always wanted to move into it eventually, but we had to create the business to do so, and finally got to a place where we could afford to do it and expand and create a little bit more room for our customers, do things like this, and spread out a bit, and added some TVs for all those Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday. We wanted to be able to have some more TVs for other people to watch other games as well, and created our stage and a new seating area as well. So
we are on a stage which is built kind of in the middle here, inside of what kind of looks like a cage. So it's a cage on a stage. And this is a perfect spot for us to be.
It's kind of hog wire.
There you go.
Hog wire.
This is, you've got a bunch of TVs, as you mentioned, a lot of different places to sit out here and things like that. And so now, is this a space that you'll rent out to, or, is this just for restaurant customers?
Yeah,
I mean, what do you got going here?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got about 30, 35 extra seats, but we will offer it as a private dining as well. We can do business lunches, we can do rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, or, people just want to have a party, we'll do it. And so we can close it off and probably do, 40 to 60 people over here.
Okay.
So we'll sell it that way, and we get a lot of requests for that. And then we expanded the back porch and the front porch as well. So even when we close it off, we'll still have some extra room.
And here in a couple of weeks, it's going to be that type of weather where fall's going to kind of break in, and there are going to be a lot of people that kind of want to be hanging out on the outside.
Yeah, it's hardy.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's only cooled down about 5-8 degrees, it feels a hell of a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah, no question about it.
I know Coach knows about that. He's been standing out there in that hot grass. I can remember that grass in August, those 2-a-days, boy. Woo. Man, oh, man.
It's tough, that's for sure. Well, first of all, again, thank you for having us every year, but also something you touched on about the reason for opening up the room is that the business has warranted that. And so congratulations on building just a fantastic business. You got a third location now in addition to this one, Sullivan's Island. Now you got the downtown location. You're expanding here. So you're a model for others to follow. And congrats on the business success, Aaron.
Well, man, I appreciate it. And we're glad to be supporters of the Citadel and not only the football team, but all areas of the Citadel. We're glad to have you all here for the whole year and wish the team the best of luck.
You're Bulldog through and through, man. Nobody can accuse you otherwise.
All right, Mike. See you, Coach. Y'all have a good evening, good season.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Aaron. That's Aaron Siegel. He is the owner at Home Team BBQ here in West Ashley, and we're operating from his new addition outside. And we appreciate him being here, taking up the time. Long days for guys in his line of work, and they do about every kind of job possible. And so glad to be here, glad to have Aaron involved and have him stop by and catch up to us for a couple of minutes there. So wings okay, Coach, I assume? They all right?
Oh, terrific.
Good.
Outstanding. I think they're the best in Charleston right now.
That is good stuff. And so with that, we want to go into a little bit of a recap about your game that you just played, and that is the Mercer game. You get them on a Thursday night, September the 1st. A lot of teams were opening up on that particular night, but kind of wanted to walk through a little bit about what went down in that game, kind of be specific about it too. From the way things started out, I thought, wow, this is going to be one heck of a night. It's going to be one heck of a season. But as good teams do, Mercer made a comeback. But let's start at the beginning. You scored 39 seconds into this game. You get the ball. They win the toss but defer. So you take the football. You get a 5-yard run from Tyler Renew, and then he takes off pretty much the same play and goes 70 yards. And so, man, 39 seconds into the game, you're already out to a 7-0 lead.
Yeah, well, two things there is, we wanted to make sure that they were in in the same defense that they played last year, which they were. So we knew kind of going into it, if they were in that, in that specific look, we kind of would get what we wanted out of it. So the second play that we called was, was a little bit of an outside veer play, and it kind of sprung on them. And we knew that it could probably go pretty good. I didn't know that it was going to go all the way, that's for sure. What ended up happening was the linebacker missed a fit. He went inside of our guard. And the 5 technique didn't quite squeeze hard enough for us, and the safety outran it. And the next thing you know, Tyler Renew is almost untouched into the end zone, and it's a tribute to our offensive line and his speed, of course, and then the quarterback's read. So it all fit in together quite nicely on that play. And I was like, wow, this is a great way to start. There's no doubt about it. Second play, we go the distance there. But I also knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be that easy. And sometimes it's hard when you start out with an easy play like that. 2 plays in, you start to sit back, you start to relax a little bit. So we try to keep our foot on the pedal a little bit. And Coach Harrell does, he calls on their first defensive play, he calls a blitz and gets Kevin Graham free, and he knocks the ball out, and we end up with the ball, and once again in good territory right there. And we're trying to capitalize on that. We're trying to capitalize on the field position. We're trying to capitalize on the scenario in the game and just trying to jump out to a pretty good lead there. And we did one of those things we rarely do. We threw the ball on first down. But I thought it was a good opportunity there, and I thought Jordan made a great throw there. I thought we had the catch there. I couldn't really see it on the replay, but they called it incomplete. And but at least it backed them off of us early, and we kind of threw on a down that's not usually a pass down for us. So we went ahead and were able to call a few more plays. I think it took us 4 more plays to get in after that, but it was a pretty good start to the day, that's for sure.
After you get the football at the 21-yard line, you end up going 5 plays to get to the end zone, but you get Cam Jackson on an 8-yard run, and at 12:59 of the first quarter of play, you're 2 minutes and a second into the game, and you already have a 14-0 lead. A couple of things about that. First of all, as you mentioned, sometimes it's not necessarily the best of things to jump out to a quick lead because you can back off just a little bit there. And and you also, as you said, that they're going to have an opportunity to kind of get back in the game a little bit there. But, you had an opportunity there for the offense to score twice and for the defense to make a big play. That's a pretty good first 2:01 of the game.
Absolutely. And, in a tribute to them and their players at Mercer, they came right back, and they've got a lot of senior leadership on that team, and starting with the quarterback. And it didn't faze them too much because, after that they started marching the field on us a little bit. I know we held them to a couple field goals here and there, or attempts at field goals, and they eventually scored on us. But, it's certainly difficult for us when we jump out to a big lead like that. We had 21 points there. I would have liked to have maybe slowed that scoring down a little bit. That's usually not us. We're usually like grinded out, pounded out kind of a football team. But we'll take points any way that we can get them, that's for sure.
After the 14-0 lead, then Cole Fisher from Mercer kicks a 26-yard field goal to make it 14-3. The Bulldogs then do another 75-yard drive. This time it took you 5 plays, but Reggie Williams gets the touchdown. So each of your backs starting the game at this point have scored a touchdown. Reggie Williams, a 29-yarder, 5 plays, 75 yards in a minute and 58 seconds, and you're up 21-3. And again, everybody was involved at that point in the backfield.
Yeah, well, we got Reggie on a counter play, which was pretty good for us. We'd scored on the toss play, and the counter play came off of the toss play for us. And to be honest with you, standing on the sidelines, I couldn't really see. But what ended up happening there was they were over pursuing the toss, and we were able to get we pulled our guard and our tackle around. And all of a sudden, I see Reggie take off, and he ended up beating the tackle to the point the tackle was in front of him. I think he just left the tackle behind, and that completely surprised me. Usually we're saying, hey, stay with your blocks, but he turned on the jets there, and I think he went for 30 or 29 yards at that one, which was a big surprise for us. Reggie's usually not the huge breakaway. He gets downhill in a hurry, but no, he looks great. He lost about 7 or 8 pounds since last year. He's kind of he's actually been a converted cornerback for us when he first came here. But he showed such physicality on the scout team for us that we had to have him on offense at one of our A-back spots. And he's been one of the best A-backs that we've had probably in my career there. I just love the way that he plays, and I was happy to see him get in the end zone. If anybody caught his end zone celebration there, it was something to be seen because he ended up falling flat on his back after trying to bump one of our players.
I did not see that. Oh, wow. Interesting stuff there. Well, to close out the first quarter, and we're just ahead of taking a quick break here, but John Russ scores on a 38-yard touchdown run, a 62-yard drive for Mercer. They go 5 plays in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and they make it 21-10. We'll pick it up in the second quarter when we come back, but one question I wanted to ask you, because you kind of alluded to it, about what you were able to see from your vantage point on the sidelines. How did calling the plays feel for you in a real game after having done it upstairs for so many years?
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's difficult. I have to get really far behind the play. You are a little bit more in tune emotionally with the game and the highs and the lows in the game. But I felt the thing that was difficult was trying to see the far side of the field. But the nice thing is I've got some really experienced triple option coaches up in the box, and they do a great job of spotting for me. And it just kind of it makes me visualize a lot more than I was used to being in the box where I saw everything for myself.
Interesting stuff. Coach Brent Thompson and I will be back in just a couple of moments. We need to take a quick time out here and return to Fiery Ron's Home Team BBQ in West Ashley. This is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show on Sports Radio 1450.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
We build our communities. We earn our success. We, as South Carolinians, work best together. Don't follow your bank into the impersonal world of mergers. Make a change. Visit South Atlantic Bank to talk with local bankers who care about the Low Country. Our local headquarters will be ready next year on Johnny Dodds Boulevard. Until then, stop by our current location. You'll find a community bank with a proven track record of financial success. South Atlantic Bank. People you know and trust.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. I went to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan once. She's the culprit that ripped our door off. 2,000-pound animal bumping into a steel door creates quite a bit of damage. Actually use the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. USAA is great about working with both active and separated military. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Home is a big financial decision, so you need a strong team working on your mortgage. That team is at South Atlantic Bank. Decisions are made right here in our community by mortgage professionals who really know the Low Country. South Atlantic Bank offers competitive rates and terms on loans for home purchase or refinance. If you need a mortgage loan, you need the mortgage loan professionals at South Atlantic Bank. South Atlantic Bank Mortgage Group, providing the keys to home ownership.
Welcome back to Fiery Ron's Home Team BBQ in West Ashley. This is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show here for the season premiere tonight, and it comes after a victory at Mercer on the 1st of September, a victory for the Bulldogs that was 24-23. We were recapping the game, though, and we were kind of through the end of the first quarter. A lot of scoring in the first, some scoring in the second, not so much in the second half, and this is the point in the ball game after Reggie Williams gets the 29-yard touchdown run, and you're up 21-3, Coach, where they make their comeback, and they were able to get 20 unanswered points scored in the ball game. Again, it's one of those things that you're kind of expecting them to do because good teams make comebacks from time to time. But kind of talk about what you were seeing out there while all of that momentum was kind of switching sides.
Well, at one point I saw, we were facing a little bit of adversity, and I saw our offense, and it's a little bit different when you're down on the sidelines. And hadn't been down on the sidelines in about 6 or 7 years. And you start to realize, what's happening to your team, what's happening down there, and you start to realize where the emotional state of everybody is. And I turned over and I saw the offense, and they were sitting on the bench right there, and they had made all the corrections and everything. And, and I said, we need to get up and we need to get behind this defense right now. And that's what they did, and we were able to get a few stops there. Sometime, we didn't play the greatest first half on defense, that's for sure. But, they battled back in the second half. And, like I told the guys at the end of the game, and I told them throughout camp, and that is, at some point we're going to have to rely on each other. we spend all day going at each other offensively and defensively during camp. We're divided almost everywhere. But when we get into that locker room, we're together. And when we come together on game day as well. And it's all got to fit together with special teams, offense and defense. So, I was really proud of the way that they were able to come back and cheer on for each other and make some adjustments. And we were able to shut them down a little bit in the second half.
So at the end of the first quarter, it was 21-10, and then you start the second quarter, Cole Fisher gets a 31-yard field goal. It's 21-13, and then John Russ gets the 1-yard touchdown run with 7:29 to go in the second quarter, and it's a 21-20 ball game, and that's how you go to halftime. And so what approach did you take with your guys when you got to the halftime locker room?
Sitting on the sideline there, and they're driving the ball, and they had some pretty good drives put together, and they had a couple of long scoring drives put together there where they kicked field goals or touchdowns. And it kind of makes you realize what other teams face when they go against you and you put together long drives like that. And that's the way we approached it at halftime. We said, we know that this is not going to be easy. We know that this is a good football team, and we know that we kind of caught them a little bit early. But there was no idea going into this football game that it was going to be easy. That's for sure on either side of the football. Now you don't have 20 of 22 starters on both sides of the ball, and quite a few 16 seniors, I believe, on both sides of the ball. And you're not going to be a good football team in that. And that's what we look forward to having someday with our roster. And when you can have that, you're going to be able to put together those drives, not make mistakes, and and that's kind of what I told the team is we've got to be able to face this adversity and battle back. And I thought that's what we did, and we came back. Coach Harrell made a lot of great adjustments in the second half. We tweaked a few things on offense. We kind of put together a couple things that we've been sitting on, the what ifs. We always go in with a game plan full of what ifs. So we used a couple of our what ifs, and they got us, it got us out of a couple of jams. The main concern that I think we had on offense was not converting some of those third and shorts, which I thought we would have been a lot better at. We had a third and short and a fourth and short and a fourth and medium that we had to go for. So I felt like coming out of that, that's what we needed to work on the most. Coming out of that game was those third and fourth down situations, and then of course on defense, and that was doing what we didn't in the first half, and that was tackle better, fit better, and play a little bit harder. I don't know that we came out ready to play on defense, meaning that we were trying not to make mistakes out there instead of just going out and playing fast and physical football like we usually do.
In the third quarter, Cole Fisher, a 47-yard field goal for Mercer. They actually take the lead for the first time in the game, and they would hold it for a while. Your ball club was able to go on, and it's kind of funny because my broadcast partner, Lee Glaze, said at the point when you went on that drive of over 7 minutes, he said, I'd love to see them go on about a 9-minute drive right here, kind of like the old days. And to that point in the game, all of your scoring drives had been relatively short. And so here you go on a 7:09, and you get the field goal from newcomer Cody Clark, and it puts you ahead to stay. But a big drive, lots of plays, 15 plays, which is quite impressive. You go 65 yards, and Cody kicks it through. So you were able to kind of control the game and the clock at that point, and then hold it off, get the thing done.
Yeah, we know that we're not normally a quick strike offense. We know we're not going to advance the ball down the field through the air too often unless we're pitching it. But really, to be honest with you, is we realized that we were probably going to have maybe one, maybe two possessions the way that they were taking care of the football. And they were moving it down the field. We knew that it was going to be tight here in the last drive as far as possessions were concerned. So what we had to do was put together a drive, and it didn't start out so great. I mean, I think we had a pretty good first play, and then we've got a good play set up, and the pitch goes through the hands of Cam. And the next thing you know, we end up in a 2nd and 15 at one point, and we were able to get it down to a 3rd and manageable. And then, I thought Jordan did a great job of just managing the drive. He took care of the football. He threw to open receivers, and we actually caught the football and got some good yards and good positive yards. And he had great composure in there and just executed the offense. And then, there comes a point in that drive where we know that we were in field goal range. We felt confident in Cody. And we knew that, as long as we get that ball in a situation where we get it, inside the 30-yard line, I think we've got a good chance of making that field goal. And at the time, our defense was playing well. So, you make the field goal, you go up by 1, and you get an opportunity to win the football game right there. And just before Cody went out onto the field, I said, this is the whole reason why we brought you here. We need game winner guys right now. And he looked at me right in the face and he just said, you know what, Coach, I got this. And he certainly banged it down, which was great.
And the Bulldogs hold on to win the game 24-23 for Coach Thompson's first college win. Tell me what happened once the game was over. Obviously, you talked with us for a little while, but take it out even further in that how many texts and how many calls and what all was the ride back for you like that particular night?
Yeah, I had 33 text messages and I had about another 20 or 22 emails on my phone, which was great. But yeah, I did. I spent about the first hour of the trip, which was a welcome relief from the trip, of just responding and returning and going texting back and forth with some of my buddies at some other places. Being that most of them were off, that we played on a Thursday night, they had an opportunity to see the game or see the score. A lot of my buddies back home, and then of course all the Citadel alum and fans. And I got voicemails at my office, and I got quite a few text messages from some of them and some emails, which was great.
Very cool. Tyler Renew, 27 carries for 146. He had the 70-yard touchdown on the day. He was named Southern Conference Offensive Player of the Week for his performance in the game against Mercer. Now, I know that you are not fully staffed, at least from the fullback position at this point. I would assume that Tyler's probably not always going to have 27 carries in a game.
Yeah, well, in that game, we figured that we were going to have to rely on our B-backs and, of course, our A-backs as well to kind of help Jordan out a little bit. But really, he played every single snap, and the two A-backs played just about every single snap. Rod Johnson came in there for a few snaps. So, we played about, on both sides of the ball, we played about 50, 51 guys, which is pretty lean for us. But it really was a testament to the way that, Coach Boucher's got those guys in great shape. They were able to last 4 quarters. I think we ended up fairly healthy coming out of the game, which was nice. And we were able to really, I thought, win the game in the fourth quarter when your conditioning starts to pay off. And not only, your camp conditioning, but really our players are here for 10 months a year. They've been lifting and they've been building for that moment their whole, since since the last whistle blew against Charleston Southern. So I was really happy for those guys.
You also on the defensive side, Malik Diggs has 11 tackles, and you got an interception to ice the ball game by Kali Williams. And so Mercer is by the wayside, and a 24-23 victory for the Citadel Bulldogs, who get a chance to come home now for a game and then away for a couple of more. And that's what we want to pick up with Coach when we come back in just a couple of moments from now. We're at Fiery Ron's Home Team BBQ in West Ashley in the new addition outside. They used to have a beauty salon in this side of the building, so we'll call it the parlor perhaps when we're here. And we'll be back to kind of get moving toward this week's game. Obviously, the number one question that people have for the Citadel Bulldogs and their head coach has to do with the quarterback position. So we'll ask that question when we come back from the break in a moment. This is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show on Sports Radio 1450.
We have our crispy whole flounder. We have the seared ahi tuna. You name it, in the seafood business, we have it.
Be sure to stop by the Tiger and Leaf Lounge whenever you visit our locations. We have many frozen and specialty drinks, awesome margaritas. One of my favorites is the Wapu Punch.
If you don't like it down in the historic district, come over to James Island, sit on the Intercoastal Waterway. It is an unbelievable view where it's southern seafood at sensible prices and a darn good time. Charleston.
Titles are forever.
North Market Street at the corner of North Market and East Bay. You've seen us compete on Barbecue Pit Wars. You've heard about our award-winning barbecue and wings, but have you tried Qology yet? barbecue nachos, award-winning ribs, barbecue tacos, and of course our pulled pork sandwiches just for a start. Live entertainment and happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. Visit Qology Barbecue today, located at 32C North Market Street at the corner of North Market and East Bay.
Welcome back to Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley for the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show. It's the first show of the season and the first of 11 consecutive shows that we will host from right here in this particular location. So we're glad to have you with us as we roll through show number 1 here this evening. And of course, Coach, as I mentioned prior to the break, the number one question that I'm sure you've been asked so far, but also that many probably still want to kind of hear an answer to, is about your situation at quarterback. And by my judgment, you have a really good situation going on here. You had a redshirt freshman that was tested, feet to the fire in a ball game on a Thursday night against a conference foe, and he handled things very well. So now Dominique Allen is able to return. I'll ask a couple of things with regards to your quarterback situation. First of all, what about the health of Dominique Allen because of the right hand injury? That was going to keep him limited in fall camp anyway. And so where is he now? How is he doing now in terms of his development, getting back on the field?
Well, he's been doing really well at practice. He's been taking reps with the ones. He's been taking snaps for the last 2 weeks, which was always a concern with the pinky there. But he seems to have no problems taking snaps. He's got no problems throwing the football right now. He's doing a great job in there. He's kind of shaking the rust off a little bit. The good thing about Dom is, he's a very smart player, so I don't have any concern that he's going to make the checks or anything. Again. So we're finally building some depth at that position, and being that I coach that position and I was the offensive coordinator here, I made sure that we went out and got the right guys for that position, and Coach Houston saw that as well, and that's where we were able to sign good players like Jordan Black and Brandon Rainey, and and to have Dominique Allen as well.
In college football, and we talked about how good a week it was for college football over the weekend, we saw many an example of coaches who played multiple quarterbacks. Some didn't seem to have a feel for any of three, and I'm talking about Auburn in that particular situation. They shuffled them in there left and right. As a general rule, what is your philosophy on the concept of playing multiple quarterbacks in a game?
I find it very hard in our offense. I find it very hard of just the team dynamic, and I know a lot of good football teams get away with it, of course. But doing what we do with not only our center quarterback exchange, but our quarterback fullback, and then of course our quarterback A-back pitches and everything, it's a finely tuned machine, and everybody's got to be on the same page right there. And if we're not, it could get really ugly at times. So I would prefer not to have two different meshes, and I would prefer not to have two different center quarterback exchanges. And I'm also maybe old school like this, or a fundamental believer that there is one leader of this football team, and everybody looks to him to lead at certain points in the game. And I don't like people ever saying, well, you should have done this, you should have played this guy should have played more, and this and that. I like having one guy, and I like having one guy to go to, and I've been fortunate enough to have that over the last few years. But at this point, as we do have two capable quarterbacks, I haven't completely ruled it out, but it'd have to be something that I would warm up to.
Curious question about Dominique Allen, and this is something you and I talked about last year in our meetings. You had referred to getting to a point with Dominique Allen where you felt like you were on a very similar wavelength from where you were up in the press box. And obviously you're able to communicate with him via the headsets up there, but what do you think that's going to be like when the two of you can look eye to eye on the sidelines for that wavelength and for that mesh that the two of you had together?
Yeah, it'll be a lot different for us, that's for sure. I'll be able to see more of his emotion, more of his state of mind. He's an emotional football player, and you could tell that when he starts to press a little bit, or when he's got things under control. There's days where he had things completely under control. In the South Carolina game, when you just kind of leave him alone and let him do his thing, and then and even in the Furman game last year, did a great job of managing him. But I thought I'd have to be able to settle him down a little bit more this year when times got a little bit tight for him. which was going to be nice for me on the sideline, and try to get his mind focused back on what was going on, and leave a little bit more of the scheme stuff to Coach Conte up in the box, because you can't spend a whole lot of time when you've got to make decisions, when the defense is on the field or the special teams is about to go on the field. So it was going to be probably a quick eye-to-eye with him to see what state of mind he was going to be at, and go ahead and let Coach Conte take care of him from there on out.
I get that you haven't made a decision with regards to who's going to start the ball game. When do you feel you need to decide to let the kid who's going to start know that he's going to start?
Yeah, it's probably going to have to be somewhere, probably by Friday. By Friday's walkthrough, our walkthrough quarterback makes all the checks. We've got about 110 different plays, and of those we probably make about 30 or 40 checks. So it'll be probably most important right there to have, to have our starting quarterback at that spot. The good thing is throughout not only this week's game plan but last week's game plan, Dom was there making all the checks with us. So, he kind of knows all the checks anyway. He knows the automatic checks, and then he also knows kind of the game plan checks as well. So I would feel comfortable with either one of them as far as that was concerned. Like I said, it's probably going to really come down to whether I feel comfortable enough of, that Dom is shaking the rust off, and that he has taken enough snaps. And George's probably taken well over 1,000 snaps at this point since the beginning, and Dom's probably somewhere right around 100.
I had a chance to talk with Dominique Allen. I think it was at your last scrimmage. He had shared with me that he was in the best shape of his life, because when you're hurt, you don't just get to stand around. If there's a part of your body that's not injured, it's going to get worked out, right? And so he's in awfully good shape right now.
Yeah, that was the best part about having a hand injury was, even from the start, he was able to. His leg still worked fine. He was still able to move. Unfortunately, he can't throw a football, which it was on the other hand, but it was on his throwing hand. So that wasn't too much of an issue. He lost a lot of weight. He looks great. He did everything that Coach Boucher asked him to do out there. He was out there running miles with him, and he put him through quite a big test there. And you're talking about having almost 30 days of workouts right there. That he did a great job of preparing his body. I think he's in the best shape that he's ever been in. So I don't think it's a matter of conditioning. I don't think it's a matter of shape. I think it's just a matter of football shape, football conditioning, and then, of course, distributing the football to where it has to get to.
We want to get to a break one last time before we get to the top of the hour, but we're going to come back and have about a 15-minute segment with Coach here to kind of wrap up things for week number 1, but also really dive into the Furman Paladins, who are coming to town this particular week. Little odds and ends with regards to Tyler Renew. It was his 4th 100-yard game in 5 games, and again, he was the Southern Conference Offensive Player of the Week. When we come back, it's about Furman. The Paladins are coming to town to Johnson-Haygood Stadium for a Saturday 6 o'clock ball game, and we will talk about that with Coach when we return in a moment. We're at Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley. This is the Coach Brent Thompson Radio Show on Sports Radio 1450.
Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
We build our communities. We earn our success. We, as South Carolinians, work best together. Don't follow your bank into the impersonal world of mergers. Make a change. Visit South Atlantic Bank to talk with local bankers who care about the Low Country. Our local headquarters will be ready next year on Johnny Dodds Boulevard. Until then, stop by our current location. You'll find a community bank with a proven track record of financial success. South Atlantic Bank. People you know and trust.
titles are forever.
Welcome back to Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue in West Ashley. This is the Coach Brent Thompson radio show. Glad to have you back with us. We're almost finished with our very first experience here with the coach. Season premiere here tonight. We'll be back for, in all, 11 consecutive shows, 10 more after this evening, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock here at Fiery Ron's Home Team Barbecue. So looking forward to that. I certainly hope that Coach gets the wings next week, because that will mean that he has beaten the Furman Paladins, which is a rival game early in your tenure as head coach. I'm sure people have told you just what they think about those guys wearing purple already, right?
Oh, yeah, they've all got their opinion on them. There's no doubt about it, which I agree with.
It is, no question about it. Okay, so general impressions of Furman. They played Michigan State. And played Michigan State relatively well. It was 28-13, the final score in East Lansing in front of about 75,000 fans. It was 14-3 Michigan State at halftime, 21-6 at the end of three quarters. So what did you think of the Paladins when you saw them on tape against the Spartans?
Well, they're a little bit of a different football team. They're more of a downhill run team on the offense, which I think they're doing a great job of. They're a little bit more in the pistol. And I think they're doing a good job of, managing the football game. And they're a lot like the old Furman days. They're just doing a little bit more out of the pistol. So I think they're onto something right there. They're doing a good job with it. They're not as much as the spread as they used to be, more of a run game than they had. And then, of course, the quarterback certainly can make a lot of plays with his feet. And they've got a freshman running back that's, he's not real big, but he's very scatty and he's very quick. And I think he does a great job of making people miss in the open field, which, certainly gets yards there. And then, of course, they got a great wide receiver in the Suttles kid. He does a nice job. And eventually I think he'll be he's got 2 catches to be the second all-time leading receiver in Furman history. So they're doing a good job of, getting the ball to him as well. We've got our work cut out for us, especially on defense. The last time that the quarterback came to town, I think he put up about 400 yards on us. So we've been using that on our defense right there. And, hopefully, we'll be able to contain him a little bit more this time around.
They had a quarterback controversy, not controversy, I'm going to say it's a competition where that's concerned. And so Reese Hannon, who was hurt a little bit last year but did play against the Bulldogs, and then P.J. Blazejowski, who had a 20 for 29 performance when these two teams played at Johnson-Hagan Stadium a couple of years ago. That was one heck of a football game. Went to overtime. The Bulldogs were able to score first in OT, and then the defense clamped them down. They had just one total yard in overtime, and you were able to get away with a big one there. And that was a season where you were still trying to kind of find your way as a football team, and so that was a critical win that season, and one of those where you can look back and say, we didn't have as many wins as we wanted that season, but we did do well against our rival, the team that we disliked the most, and that was one of those wins. But that was a good one that day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was I think he was a true freshman or maybe a redshirt freshman that day. And, they did a great job. We made a few mistakes. I think we turned the ball over early in that game, right on the may have been the opening kickoff return we had. We turned it over and they scored fairly quickly on us. So we got behind early on that day, and we knew we weren't going to be a quick strike offense. That's for sure. We certainly weren't a quick strike offense at all that year. So we had to grind some yards out, and that's exactly what we did. And Aaron managed a great ball game. And going into overtime, I don't think we took it out of Aaron's hands at all. And I think we got the ball first, and we went down and scored. And the defense held up. And I remember it was a 4th down play, I believe. And we ended up knocking the ball down for a win. And it was a lot like the Charlotte game that year, which went into overtime as well. Last year's game was a little bit different. We were able to move the ball fairly well on them last year. I don't suspect that we'll have that this year. I think they'll do a good job of going toe-to-toe with us in there. But I do think our defense played extremely well and got us a couple of short fields last year, which always helps. And and special teams puts us in a good situation, and I think we'll be okay.
Last year was a 38-17 win for the Bulldogs at Furman. A game where they kind of played their best ball at the beginning of the game and at the beginning of the second half, but as a whole, the Bulldogs were the better bunch in that regard. So we haven't talked a ton. We've got Noah Dawkins, who's moved back to a linebacker position. So let's talk a little bit about some of those other areas, competition on the team, but also how youth is kind of playing its way into the lineup.
Yeah, we moved Noah from really an outside linebacker position to an inside linebacker position. Phil Davis was no longer in our 2 deep. He'll be back here in a couple of weeks or so. But we felt we needed to fill a little bit of a void there, give Miles a little bit of a break. Miles did a good job last week of playing, but it's going to be tough to play at that position at about 70, 75, 80. And at one point last week, Mercer went to a hurry up, so that became a little bit taxing on us. We felt that Noah played extremely well there at that spot. The only other really spot that we have some younger guys other than, Kevin Graham, who's a sophomore, and Ken Allen, who's a sophomore, and Jalen Williams, who's a sophomore, who's in our 2 deep on the defensive line, is, Joseph Randolph's kind of, he's doing a pretty good job in there, and he's going to probably get some playing time here late. He traveled with us last week. So on the defensive line spot, we always feel that we're going to rotate guys and we're going to play a lot of guys, and we needed quite a few of those guys. On the offensive side, in the back end, the secondary, there's not a whole lot. We're pretty deep. We're pretty older back there. We've done a pretty good job of developing those guys on the back end. So I feel confident that those guys will continue to get better throughout the season, especially, when you've got Devontae Delaney back there and Malik Diggs back there and Ben Roberts back there and Shai Phillips back there. You've got some really good football players back there, so I think we'll be in good shape. On the offensive side there, offensive line's been a little bit thin for us. We ended up starting Drew McIntyre at the right guard and did a great job. It was great. He's a Georgia native. His whole family was there, and it was nice to see him. He played extremely well for us. And, he was just a guy that we thought could be a good player for us early, and he just kind of developed and progressed and did a heck of a job. So we did start him that day, which was nice. And then, of course, you mentioned Josh LeBlanc, who was really our 4th rotator at the wide receiver position. And, Josh is a young man that we recruited out of Texas. We're very high. He's got great speed. He's going to be a tremendous football player for us. The thing that I love about him is he's not afraid to throw his body in there. He makes some tremendous blocks. He's still figuring out how to play in our offense, but the way that he plays is what I admire the most. He gives such great effort on the practice field. He gives such great effort on the on the game field that I think he'll get better and better, and we're going to play him on more special teams, and we're going to continue to develop him because I think in the long run he's going to be probably along the lines of like a Brandon Eakins, a guy that can take you over the top. He's got great hands. He's got really tremendous speed, and he's long and lean. I think he'll be great in this offense. So as far as the skills concerned, I think we're doing a pretty good job of recruiting some of those guys on the offensive side.
How do you feel about the health of your ball club going into this second week? Again, one of the benefits of playing on the first and having 9 days in between game 1 and game 2. How do you feel where all of those things are concerned, Coach?
I feel a lot better than coming out of camp. Coming out of camp, I felt like we were banged up, and that's why we only played about 50 to 52. Usually I don't like Tyler and our B-backs to be able to sit there and take 70 snaps. So he took about 74 snaps or so. But he took them all, and really I don't like our A-backs to play 65 to 70 snaps, which is probably about what they did when Rod Johnson came in. He took a handful of snaps here and there, but like I said, it was great conditioning on their part. But, I would rather not have that happen. So I really feel a lot better about where we are health-wise than we were coming out of camp. And like you said, that 9 days certainly helps us out. It gave us 2 off days to kind of recover there. We took Saturday and Monday off. So I think that always helps too, and it always helps with the morale of the team.
Something I'm always asked is the uniform question. When do you decide what uniforms you wear every week?
Well, I put it to the leadership council and myself, and I kind of have all veto power over that. But I usually give them the first option at that. And, they chose that. And if you want to find out what that uniform combination is, you're going to have to come out on Saturday night.
All right, fair enough. Now, one other thing here, I noticed that in our audience tonight, and by the way, thank you to everybody who made it out for this evening. We hope to see you back in subsequent weeks here. But there's a decent contingency that belongs to you out there. So tell us who's in attendance that belong to you.
Well, I got my beautiful wife out there. She's out there, and you can hear my 2 kids out there, Harper and Emma, the twins. My mom and dad made it out for, and then, of course, Ron Boyd's wife, who's the godmother of my twins, Erin Boyd, is out there. So I'm happy to have those guys with me and support me out here right now.
Very neat.
As well as Coach Balcom over here.
That's right. Coach Duggar Balcom is in the house and off to our left over here. So has been a regular over at our different shows throughout the course of time here. Okay, so the standard question about let's talk about keys to the game for Saturday as we're closing in on the latter moments of our first show here. Coach, what do you think it comes down to this Saturday at 6 against Furman?
You know, last week we felt the game came down to penalties and turnovers, which is what the game did, the year before for the Mercer. And we did exactly that. I thought we set out and we did exactly what we said we were going to do with 1 penalty and 0 turnovers. This week, of course, we've got to have something very similar to that. You know, we can't be a team that's going to turn the ball over, of course, and especially like we did last year. We didn't do a great job of taking care of the ball last year. But more importantly, I've been stressing to the football team in general is that we've got to be a lot more physical. And they match physicality with Michigan State, which means which is a pretty good physical football team. So that's what it's going to take this week to beat a good Furman team is to play physical on both sides of the ball. And the one thing that I know about our players is that they're going to show up to play at Johnson Haygood no matter what. It's going to be a great crowd out there. It's going to be a great atmosphere out there. And I'm really excited to get out there and see our fans and see our Corps cadets out there supporting our players. And our players, of course, supporting the Corps cadets as that's what they belong to.
I haven't looked that closely, but I do think we're still going to be around the low 90s for heat there. But you probably don't mind that as much in terms of the heat with the way your team is kind of built. Is that kind of where you think?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. You know, we love the heat. We practice in the heat. We train in the heat. You know, some teams practice early in the morning. Some teams practice, late at night. And even in Charleston, you can't avoid the heat at times. And I'm often reminded by Andy Clausen about where our dew point is at every single day. And I've actually learned about what the dew point is. I had no idea before I lived in Charleston. So if we can get that dew point up, if anybody's got any connection to that, I'd love to get the dew point up around 75 or so.
Okay.
And that's where the humidity comes in, and that's where our players thrive the most. And, we don't have 300-pounders out there. We've got guys that are lean. They run, and they're used to conditioning and playing and training in this kind of weather. So we're okay with that.
You'll never get it unless you ask for it. That's the way I see it, right? You got to ask somebody, and maybe they can pull it through for you.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, thanks again. Looking forward to having these discussions with you for the remainder of the season. But show number 1's in the book. Good luck on Saturday, okay?
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, you got it. That's Coach Brent Thompson. I'm Mike Legg. Our thanks to Ted Byrne back in our studios. Show number 1 is in the books from Fiery Ron's home Team BBQ in West Ashley. We'll be back again here at 7 o'clock next Wednesday night for another version of the show. We're on the air 4 o'clock on Saturday here on Sports Radio 1450 for the 6 o'clock game against the Furman Paladins. That's it from Fiery Ron's. Good night, everybody. Thank you.